Dave, thanks for coming in,
Hey,
man.
no problem, man.
Look forward to talking to you and seeing you again, man. It's great to see you. It's fun doing that video that we did.
Oh yeah, that's.
Yeah.
You know, I don't usually. I'm not known for writing novelty songs, but I just got. I guess I got a little rowdy and ornery one day and put it down, and it just seemed to flow.
Yeah.
And I got a good laugh out of it with John Schmidt. He thought it was funny. So I thought, well, let's just go ahead and see what we can do with this.
Yeah, it was cool.
And thanks to your help.
Yeah, we had a bunch of friends come in and hang out for the set, and it was a good time.
It's gonna be a good time tomorrow.
Yeah. So, what were you thinking about, like, when you wrote that song? I mean, how does something like that come to you? Because it's so different from everything else you've ever done.
I have no idea. I'm sorry, I can't answer that. It's one of those. It was a lark.
Yeah.
You know.
Were you sitting down at a guitar?
Yeah, I'm half Irish, and
yeah.
And
some true stories in there.
Yeah. Well, I'm sure it's all based on some amount of truth, you know.
Yeah. I mean,
but you know, it just. I also think that there's only two bastions of humanity that don't have a problem with being made fun of, and one is the Irish, and the other is hillbilly. And I'm an Irish hillbilly, so it just sort of poured
you
out
got
of me,
both angles going.
Right. It just sort of happened.
Yeah.
So you know, the Irish don't care if you make fun of what they drink; they'll laugh and offer you a bigger one, you know.
Yeah.
And you know, there's no end to how hillbillies don't mind, you know, being made fun of.
Yeah.
I heard one guy say, "I got teeth. I just leave them in the truck." You know.
Yeah.
That might have been me.
So, you know, I've been thinking back on, like, maybe the first time I ever saw you play, and I think it might have been someplace like Cooters or something like that.
Oh, really?
Yeah. When you had really long hair.
Yeah.
Yeah. I you know, what was the name of the band before the Falcons?
Well, I started out with the Attitude.
Uh-huh.
You know, but that's, you know, that was kind of a punk band based on 60s female vocalist. Janice Tubas was a singer, and so she picked up these songs, and I started punking them out with her husband on drums, and Kurt Gary, famous radio guy around here for a while.
Okay. What years would that have been?
What year was that? I think that was 79.
Okay, I think I probably saw you around 81 or 2 for the first time.
And then we changed the Attitude into the Wet Spots when New Wave started sneaking in. I said, well, more of my stuff sounds more New Wave than doing these covers.
Yeah.
You know, so started in on the originals.
Uh-huh.
And even though I'm a lover of rockabilly, that when you self-taught guitar player, you might, you know, borrow some rockabilly essences, but most of the stuff I'm experimenting on isn't really a rockabilly song. It's more, you know, a little more ethereal than that. So it kind of worked with the New Wave idea.
Yeah.
And so that happened for a while, and then I got better at guitar and started leaning into the roots rock thing that was happening.
Mm-hmm.
You know, early on, Rock Pile and, you know, guys like that were renewing that that portion of Americana.
Right. Yeah, and it's sort of like a cross between punk rock and 50s rock. Is the way I saw you.
It had a modern slant and maybe a sharper edge guitar.
Right.
And then, but it had the classic kind of lines and harmonies and ideas that were from the 50s.
I think I might.
But I mean, they put themselves on the same bill as Blondie, so it was like you got new wave and old style rock and roll kind of renewing itself at the same time on the same stages, loved by the same people.
Yeah.
So I kind of moved away from the short-lived nuances of the new wave sound and went into started the Falcons in '82.
Yeah, it had like sort of you weren't Stray Cats, but you were that kind of a vibe.
Yeah, people came up a year after they saw us and said, "There's a band out there that sounds a lot like you. They're called the Stray Cats." Like,
yeah, that's what the vibe I was getting.
I got the same thing, on several levels.
So, is that when you you became the Warsaw Falcons at that point?
Yeah.
And what year would you think that would be?
That was '82.
82.
Yeah. And so we put that thing in the basement while I was filling in for John with the modulators. He was a school teacher at Creative Performing Arts.
Was he the bass player?
No, he was the guitar player.
Okay.
So he couldn't do Wednesdays, Thursdays, and they were booked Wednesdays, Thursdays, Fridays, and Saturdays.
Uh-huh.
And so I did their Wednesdays, Thursdays, and
I see.
I mean, I learned their material in 3 days. You know, they gave me a tape of, you know, I learned that in
Wow.
3 days, and then because it's all really simple, you know, reggae stuff, you know, and then we learned 10 new songs while I was doing that for the 3 months in the spring of '82.
Okay.
While I was putting the Falcons together in the basement, but during that spring, the modulators told me later that was the largest spurt of new music that they had gotten in their entire existence.
Yeah, you were pretty prolific back then. I
Well,
mean,
it's
you
just
really
as long
put stuff
as
out.
me and Mike Barrett and the current drummer were on it,
Uh-huh.
everybody else could just like do a small little bit,
Uh-huh.
whatever they knew of the song.
Right.
The three of us carried it,
Yeah.
you know.
How many
So,
songs do you think you've wrote in your life?
I don't know. I never even thought about that question.
A couple hundred, maybe?
Oh, a few, much probably more than that.
Oh, wow.
But yeah, I didn't. If I started this song, I never even introduced it to the band unless I was happy with it.
Okay.
And so therefore, I knew. I mean, I was already confident it was going to be a song. And by the time the Falcons became a trio, me and John Schmidt and Doug Wagner, and these guys were just reading my mail. I mean, we could learn a song in 7 minutes.
Yeah. That's
And,
what happens when you play with somebody for a long time,
just
right?
Nuts.
Yeah.
And plus their ear, you know, their ears were so refined,
Right.
especially John's.
So originally the Falcons were a 4-piece?
5.
5.
And you know, it changed pretty quickly. Originally at Corey's, we started out at Corey's, which is now the Mad Frog.
Uh-huh.
And I talked to the owner of the bar. His name was Swango. We called it Swango Land.
Yeah.
And I said, man, you know, you got a 69 person, you know, limit on your.
That was the front room back then,
yeah,
right?
69.
Yeah.
You only allowed 69 people in here. And he goes, well, what can I do about that? I said, well, move out all the tables and chairs, except the bar stools and that bench along the window.
Yeah.
All the tables and chairs in the basement. Call your place standing room only. And next thing you know, I had 159. Call the cops back in.
Wow.
The fire department. And so we sort of we put 250 people in that room with 30 or 40 people waiting on the sidewalk to get in.
Wow.
And that was every Thursday night. So that was like the phenomenon that we were waiting for.
Those were the days, man. I
Yeah.
remember seeing Big Ed Thompson there.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Well,
Yeah.
Big Ed let me sit in on his guitar.
Yeah.
We did what they call a guitar orgy because my arms are long enough to reach around him. He played some rhythm and I played some lead.
58 Explorer, by the way, which
Yeah.
is now in a museum.
Oh, yeah.
At the Gibson
easily.
Museum.
And then he let me play one of my own. Just gave me the guitar and let me, you know, and the joke on this one, or the story on this one, was H-Bomb Ferguson. And when I got done with the song, he goes, "Did you write that song?" I go, "Yeah, I did." He goes, "What's your mama look like?" I go, "You ain't my daddy, you old fool." You know, and from that point on, whenever I saw him at a bar with his golden hair, golden wigs, I push the hair aside, kiss the back of his neck, and say, "Hey, Daddy." And he said, "Get out of here."
That's funny.
I know, he's funny. He was nonstop funny.
Yeah. You guys used to hit it hard, too. I mean, how often did you guys play in a week back in
Well,
the day?
once the Corey's thing happened, we were playing animations and Chapter 13 and
3-4 times a week?
yeah.
Yeah.
And then we settled into Corey's just on Thursday nights to get the new band to go.
Mm-hmm.
And it was the keyboard player and the new drummer Doug was at the time, and Mark Hoffman was the upright bass player, and we had Tommy Schneider on saxophone and vocals and guitar.
So John wasn't in at that point?
No.
Okay.
And then it was Timmy Quine on harmonica, wonderful harmonica player.
Uh-huh.
And so that was our lineup, and It was mostly kind of acoustic. I mean, the vocals, of course, were enhanced with a Fender reverb unit attached to it. You know, one of those old box Fender reverbs.
Sure.
And a little small speaker system
Yeah.
up above the mirror. We placed it up there and balanced it.
Yeah.
And so the vocals were, but everything else was just, you know, whatever thudded out of an amp, and
Yeah.
And so there wasn't a whole. We didn't have. Not everybody had a microphone, so the saxophone was live, the harmonica was live, and we just played to that volume. And so it's like playing unplugged before it was popular.
Right. Right.
But then when there became 230 people in the room, we had a little more
Yeah.
Energy.
So did you continue on with the harp player into when
Yeah,
I remember that.
He stayed for a
Yeah.
while, and lost Tommy for a minute, and then the keyboard player got ornery. And I mean, I love Stevie Green to death, and he's passed away since he moved his B3 into his garage one time and came in and sat down on his couch and fell over with a heart attack. It's way too young, like 37.
Oh my gosh. Yeah.
And maybe a little older than that. I'm not sure. My memory is too many years of trying to remember. You can't keep it all straight. You don't want to because there's more things to remember coming up.
Yeah. I don't ever remember you playing a different guitar than the black strap, but did you?
Yeah, I had a. He's funny. It's funny. More than a Wayne's World hat. I had a Wayne's World model that was practically given to me when
like
I
a
bought.
white strap.
When I bought my Takamine, I said, I'm paying almost full price for this Takamine. What else you got around here that you can let go cheap? So let that Wayne's World model go for $100. So I felt better, and I used that as a backup guitar, but I rarely used it because I rarely broke a string. So that those frets on that thing from the Fender factory are as good as they were the month after I bought it.
Yeah, and then you got a Silvertone from me, a black Silvertone, like a Chris Isaac model.
Yeah.
You play that sometimes.
Yeah, well, that replaced one that got stolen. And, it performed pretty well.
Yeah.
The one I got from you. But I really missed the original one. Was 57 with no changes.
Yeah.
And I lost that to the consumers of stolen goods.
So what about albums? Like, how many albums have you done?
We did a 45 in '83. Shortly after the Falcons were, rolling.
That was the 3-piece version, or?
No, that was 5.
Okay.
And at the time, I think it was Mark McCumber playing bass.
Right.
And so we went in and did I Fall Apart and Skinny Ankle Bone. Yeah. On a 45 at Jewel with Rusty York doing the pressing.
Yeah.
And Junior doing the engineering.
Oh, neat.
So I got to see you work with the old guys. The reason why I was able to do that 45 was we were parked outside of Corey. My van was parked outside of Corey's, and some Dodge, 440 Ram or whatever, comes zooming around that corner hard. Didn't make his turn, slammed in the back of my truck. And locked the back doors, so it's like they totaled it for $1,000. He
bought your record, didn't he?
It ran. I just couldn't use nothing but the side door. I was using the side door mostly anyway, to get the B3 truck around. So I took the $1,000 into the studio and made a 45.
That's great.
And the way you sold things back in that day was not only in the record stores, which you put a small amount in, but we were charging $3 a head at dollar bills at the time. We were playing dollar bills 4 nights a week and did a happy hour, so we're doing 13 sets a week. Wow. That's a lot of work.
That is a lot of work.
In one room, and it's like, I told everybody in the band this probably won't last, but we should enjoy it while we can. And it was true.
Yeah.
But it lasted many years.
Yeah.
Something like 83, 84 to, 83 to almost 90.
So what year did you guys become the Falcons that we all know now?
86, I came back from Texas, a trip to Texas. John Schmidt had gone to Texas to play with the Sax Maniacs and run around on tour with them. So I bid him adieu and got various players. Probably Mark McCumber came back at that time too. And I and he did his run with them. And when he was coming back, I was thinking about going there just to test the waters.
Mm-hmm.
And he gave me a couple of really good contacts. Jim Yenaway with Amazing Records, and Ted Tucker, is it? Not Ted Tucker, Ted Temple or something like that. That had a huge 45 collection, all public domain.
Oh, okay.
And so he let me come in with a little tape recorder. He put the tune on his turntable, and I recorded it through one of the little old Panasonic jobs that
Okay.
the early recording devices.
And what did you use those for, like song ideas or demos?
Well, no, I recorded two 90-minute cassettes of all these whole 3-minute songs.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
And I think we worked up 24 of them, and that was our cover base for the trio. So it was mostly
I see.
Mostly originals, and then I
50s rock stuff
and well, Texas
almost
Texas
doo-wop-y.
R&B.
Texas R&B.
Yeah. And so that's why people say, that I remind them a little bit of Stevie Ray Vaughan. I'm like, yeah, a little bit, but we all grew up on the same music.
Right.
I was, dumbstruck by the same grooves he was dumbstruck by and grew up with,
Yeah.
rockabilly and that Texas R&B stuff. And so that became my meat and potatoes, and I wrote an awful lot of songs that didn't sound like that, but they were accepted by the crowd, and just an amazing how grateful and surprised we are that this stuff lasted as long as it did. And on my 70th birthday, I'm over here at Wiedemann, and 400 people show up.
Yeah, you're a
The place
legend
was
in town,
packed.
man.
And I'm like, well.
We were
And
lucky.
then COVID comes in and ruins my next year to perform, and I got something going on with my throat where I can't hit my high register, and they checked out my throat, but my throat looks fine except for smoking for 60 years. But
You're hanging up the guitar and
no, I'm
Take it
playing
away.
guitar every day. I kind of
Yeah.
hung up the steel because I hadn't played it with 500 in 2 years, and
I mean, as far as going to gigs and stuff. Right?
oh yeah,
Yeah.
Well, I mean, I could still brush up on the steel very easily, but I'm playing guitar every day because was always my main instrument.
Yeah.
And every now and then I think about bringing the banjo back out, but I'm like, nah. I had my time with the folk thing.
Yeah.
They were a funny clique, and I did well, but wasn't. These guys they're a tight knit clique.
Well, I know that everyone in town has had a lot of joy from everything you've done, Dave. Me too. And you've always been an influence on me, a big influence.
I appreciate that.
You won't remember this.
I don't
but
even think about that stuff. You just
Yeah.
go and you do it.
Yeah.
And you.
When we first started this band, we played a gig at somewhere, Blue Ash Brewery or something together.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
You heard us and you said, "Keep it up, Mike. It's good." And it means something to me. It means a lot to me.
Yeah.
And
Well, it's Chalkeye is an original group with a good sound and good ideas.
Yeah.
And good players. I mean, what's not to like?
Yeah. Well, you've inspired a lot of people. It's been great seeing you play over the years and all the different
I just
versions.
felt
that you
so
did.
lucky that if I could take somebody who's going to take 6 years to get some decent thing on recording, and I shorten that to 6 weeks, I've done something for somebody that that might help them.
Right.
So I still do that every time I can.
Yeah.
I don't talk about it much because I don't want anybody thinking I'm a bank. I'm not a bank, but I do like to help where I can.
Yes. Yeah, and you've helped a lot of people, and you've been a huge influence. And I can't wait to release the song here tomorrow.
Yeah.
And the video, it's going to be a blast.
Yeah.
Yeah, man, it's going to be a good time.
But I got lined up. Guys that Larry Nager lined me up with a bunch of stuff. I got lined up to be Bo Diddley's backup band. Anytime he hits the town, he insisted that the Falcons back him up. So we did Millette Hall, we did T-Birds over in Covington, we did the
Wow, that's cool.
wherever he showed up, and Cincinnati Gardens.
I wish I could have seen that. That sounds really
Oh
cool.
yeah, there's a recording of the Cincinnati Gardens show.
You guys are perfect for that now that I think about it.
Yeah. Well, it's like
Yeah.
he was funny as hell. He'd come in, And I go, well, what are we going to do? And he goes, we're going to do Bo Diddley songs. I go, okay. And like for the next 12 seconds, he said, we're going to do one of these, and then one of these, and then one of these, And that was his rehearsal.
That was rehearsal. Yeah, it's just like Chuck. He shows up, walks on stage with his guitar, Wow.
So, I mean, I'm down in Nashville, and I'm going to play a half an hour set between, this blues band's on stage, and they take a half an hour break. I asked them if my trio could come up and play a half an hour while they're on break. I said, no problem. Turns out, I get over there that night, Bobby Keys is in their band. So Bobby Keys sits down there and listens to what I'm doing for a half an hour. I get off stage and I said, hey man, you're blowing good tonight. He goes, speaking of blow, I mean, that's right away, he's introducing himself.
Oh, yeah.
And I said, well, I can't help you with that tonight. And, we had a nice conversation. He goes, well, where's your band play? I go, well, we're getting gigs here in Nashville, but we play the night before holidays in Cincinnati. I just take the band in the 3rd of July and the night before Thanksgiving, and so we have the best chance of getting the largest crowd. And I booked my band from Nashville to Cincinnati and have all those folks that miss me from Cincinnati get their Falcon fix.
Yeah.
And he said, well, why don't you ask me to join you? So, for like 8 or more gigs, Bobby Keith played in my band.
Oh, that's so cool.
Well, he was off tour from when the Stones were
up here.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
The biggest one, the best one that I remember was that a place over in North Side on Blue Rock. Something Corner.
Yeah, I don't know. I can't remember.
Anyway, it was a regular, smaller bar, but it had a outdoor area that could be accessed in good weather. And this guy, when he found out I wanted to do New Year's Eve with Bobby Keys at $20 or $30 per couple,
yeah,
he put up plastic along his back walls,
yeah,
and open up the windows so people could crawl through the windows, and all the music could go out into whatever areas. And so the 300 people showed up at, I don't know, $30 a couple.
Oh, that's awesome.
150 couples.
Yeah.
So cool. We made a ton of money, and that was just the right venue, a small, almost non-existent stage with the 4 pieces up there and just hacking away.
Well, all through the 80s and 90s, it was like that up in Clifton by my store. I mean, there'd be 10 bands on Short Vine. On the weekend, people don't realize the way it used to be.
Yeah.
You could walk down that strip and just hear 3 bands in
you
every club.
Yeah. Daniel's Pub,
Yeah.
Fibber McGee's,
Top Cats,
Sub Bar or Sub, whatever that sub company was.
Yeah.
And there was that place over in the Plaza right next door, next to Kroger's.
The Plaza, I remember the Plaza. I used to watch Robin play the Plaza.
The Plaza,
Robin Lacey.
Oh, I played there too. We played there too.
Yeah.
And I just, I've just been so lucky, and you get to thinking you're pretty good, but you're probably not as good as you're not getting picked up. Of course, we didn't have any large tours we could jump on at the time. They didn't have any of that Popaloosa thing going on,
Yeah.
And
were you ever on a label, like a national label?
No. It just we're like a lot of bands out of Nashville. They're so hot in the recording studio and so hot in their gigging in Nashville that they lose money if they go out of town.
Right,
and
sure.
So,
and who wants to start over at a certain point in your
life?
life?
Well, I mean, some of these guitar players are making $50,000 a year in the 90s playing on studio recordings. If they leave town and lose those gigs, they're making $6,000 a year.
Right, sure.
So
and leaving their family and wearing themselves out.
It didn't make any sense, you know. So
right.
they stuck to where their money is, and you get to hear them if you go to Nashville,
Yeah.
But you don't get to hear them if you're waiting in your own hometown for them to tour.
Right. Was there anything you want to say to the fans or anything, or
Just completely grateful.
Yeah.
It just I can't believe that things I wrote 35 years ago are still people still want to hear. It's just that just blows my mind. Like in this day of kind of like throwaway music, you know, I must have been doing something right.
Yeah, people have short attention spans right now, so that really means a lot. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But these folks, they went to Corey's, to Dollar Bills, and then over to Wiedemann when I played over there, and Freeze Cafe when I went over there.
Yeah.
And just tried and true fans. I mean, it was in Dollar Bills. It was 18 to 80. You know.
Yeah, I played in there a few times. Up against the glass. It was
That's
one of the worst sounding rooms.
That's how diverse the crowd was. You know.
Yeah.
And it was like, okay, well, not everybody got as lucky as I did. So.
Well, you appealed to everybody because you had a sort of an old-timey vibe, you know, in a 50s sort of way, but yet you were punk rock too.
Right, I had enough punk edge to just piss off the guys that weren't quite that good yet. But they, you know, you can make up a punk band on your lunch hour at UC, you know, DAP, which is okay. I have no problem with that.
Sure, yeah.
But you're not going to compete with somebody that's playing a guitar. Yeah. I didn't buy
and
a guitar.
And the songs, getting the songs.
Right.
Yeah. The songs are what it's all about,
yeah.
man. Yeah.
And that's the other thing, is that none of those songs sound like the other ones.
Right.
I didn't write the same song twice.
Right.
Which is another reason why a label didn't want me. I couldn't repeat their favorite song.
Yeah.
You know, by writing another one for the next album.
Right.
And you know, I got approached by a couple of folks, and it just never panned.
Well, you know, I'm sure it's for the best, man. We get to enjoy you. We got to enjoy you back here in town all the time, you know. So.
I almost got on Boardwalk, but then they dropped me when Bobby Keys went back on tour with the Stones, because Bobby Keys was a factor in them getting me that.
Of course. Yeah.
But the other thing was the towers went down.
Yeah.
So when I'm trying to get a hold of the guy that was going to table the deal with me, he finally called me back from South America and said, no, you can't be on the label. We're not allowed to, you know, our points have gone down 28%, you know.
Yeah.
And if you're not currently making me money, I can't afford to spend any money on starting a new act on my label, you know. And that's a Virgin imprint. It would have been a fine deal for me. You know, Roy Rogers was on it.
Wow.
Mac was on it. Mac Rabinowitz, Dr. Hook.
Oh, okay.
Was on that label. So I mean, I was in good company. But
it's just not meant to be always. You know?
No, you know, I had the right stuff. You know, I had the right combo and the right material at the time, and the show that I did for the label was just, you know, exactly what they needed to hear, and everything was great. And the towers went down, and the deal went south. So, you know.
Well,
but you know, it's like I don't regret any of that stuff. I mean, if I'd have been a big star at age 27 or 28, I'd probably be dead by now. And I wouldn't have the life I have, 5 acres out in Ramanash with my beautiful Bobby Jean, and all the, you know, I can go to a movie theater without being hassled.
Sure.
Can't much go into a stop and go in Newport without being, you know, called out. But that's okay too. You know, a little bit of notoriety doesn't hurt me any. Yeah. And I still get people yelling, "Big Bill!" we went under Big Bill Pick when the legendary Jerk and Gherkins trained that swing era.
I remember that. Yeah.
You know, I just took the guitar parts that I wrote and gave them to the horns, and put in some, you know, little jazzier, added some sixths to the chords, and
there you go,
and played jump blues. You know,
the little seventh chords.
Yeah,
in there.
It's like a chameleon for the times.
Yeah,
you know?
You always did change with the times. You know,
well, without changing the essence of what I was delivering.
Yeah,
I could call it something else because we were always a swing band.
Well, your heart was in all those changes.
We were a swing band.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
Larry Nager was first to point that out because you already got a swing band.
Yeah.
You know, swing and rockabilly is as good as jump blues. You know.
Yeah. Well, it's been great. I can't wait to get you back in the studio and the next song you're gonna do.
Friday at 1.
Yeah, buddy.
Well, that's just I'll throw it down to give a. I don't like the home recording that I'm getting, so I come in here and get a little something. I got to excite John and Doug anymore. They're being pretty critical. So I got to get them juiced. And if I get them juiced, then I got a project. You know. Yeah. It's all in good spirit. I mean, we have lunch. We don't play. You know, we don't rehearse that much anymore, but we will start rehearsing.
Yeah.
And.
Well, thanks for sitting down with us, and talking, man.
Yeah.
It's been great.
No problem. This was the best interview I've ever had, by the way.
Oh, thanks, man. Thanks.
You know, I mean, it's like
I appreciate that.
I've had professionals like, who's that sports guy on LW?
Yeah.
Can't think of his
I know
name.
who you mean. I know who you mean.
Big tall guy.
Yeah, I know who you mean.
And he, like, I've been interviewed on the, by O'Donnell and a bunch of guys,
Yeah.
that are supposed to be, that
Thanks.
always feel awkward.
Well, that's cool.
Not awkward at all.
I tried to make it, be important to you and get the points out.
Yeah, having read having read some of my articles, I don't have to Google myself, but they send me articles that somebody else is Googling, and so I've read a bunch of those recently. So I had a pretty good memory of how it went.
Oh, that's good. Yeah, that's good. I can't remember half of what I've done. So,
Yeah.
But Dave, thanks for coming out, man. It's been great. I'm so glad you did. It's been a pleasure sitting down and talking to
Yeah.
you. Thank you, brother.
I'm glad.
Yeah.
I'm glad to do it.
Thank you, sir.
All right.
I think that's good. Yeah. Thank you, Dave.
Thank you.
We really only need one camera. I'm just going to get him, just real fast. I just think that's a great story. It's crazy. I mean, that's just such a cool. You good? We're rolling. That one's on. Okay. So you were just telling me that when you were young, when you first started, how you discovered guitar and what happened. Some things that happened to you when you were.
I started out as an athlete,
Yeah.
and I was a catcher.
12 years old, right?
Yeah, I mean, this like, first year B, second year B. No, it's first year B. And it might have been last year C. Memory,
Yeah, sure.
But I had a coach that taught me how to swing level, follow through, the whole thing, step out, with your, reach out with a leg while you're swinging.
Yeah.
All those steps that the pros, are taught. And this coach taught me how to hit a home run. And so I was batting fourth. I hit 12 home runs in the season. It's only 12 games. It's 90 days every Saturday,
Yeah.
So I hit an average of a home run per game. And 4 of those home runs were grand slams because I had 3 guys up ahead of me, batting cleanup.
So you're a big deal in the baseball world when you were 12.
It was great.
Yeah.
And then I got a little taller and moved away from baseball and into basketball, and I played basketball for the Navy. And we were down the West Coast playing the other clubs, in the bases.
Uh-huh.
And I messed up my knee in a championship game. And when I was in the hospital getting my knee repaired at U.S. Naval Hospital, Balboa Naval Hospital, the vet next to me he had a nylon guitar and he's playing it. I'm like, I'm going to get a guitar as soon as this cast comes off. So unfortunately, I bought a 12-string guitar and I didn't know how to tune it. And so I had 90 guys in the same barracks that wanted throw my guitar off the roof.
Oh yeah.
But a petty officer came in. He heard the squabble. Petty officer came in and told him to lay off me. This guy wants to play guitar. You let him.
Oh, that's cool.
And so I learned how to play guitar, mostly experimenting. I didn't take any lessons or anything. So because I'm experimenting and I have a love for rockabilly, I learned a lot of rockabilly. But I didn't go learn a whole song. I just learned the essence of rockabilly.
Were you already singing when you were young too, right?
Yeah, I started singing in the sock hop band at 14.
Okay.
And before that, I was singing Gregorian chant requiems every Saturday for the church. Because I grew up Catholic. And
so that was your first guitar.
yeah, and my first guitar was a 12-string, and I finally learned how to tune it, and I experimented on it. And so the experimentations, I never actually learned a full song of somebody else's.
Mm-hmm.
I just experimented on what would sound like a balanced set of chords to me.
Yeah.
And little small dual note fingering that I learned, and all of it was just spending, being bored in the Navy. You got, when you're
sure.
You sit down and
it's amazing.
You sit down and play for hours and hours and hours and hours and hours,
Yeah.
And so it's just one of those things where, I've been really fortunate all my life to have succeeded at these things that I'm throwing my efforts toward. Mm-hmm. And it just
yeah.
I can't be anything but grateful.
Yeah.
For the
That's cool.
for the audience reception to all that.
That's great. That's all I needed, Dave. That's
All right.
cool.
You see her walking away, perfect Hollywood movie ending. No way she should stay, no position that's worth defending. You see her walking the line, the one rests between truth and lie. You see her walking the line, and all the paths they lead to the bye-bye. Bye-bye. Lord knows I tried to say the things that I feel inside. Lord knows I tried, but all that's left to sing is the bye-bye. Cast of characters could be anyone. Credits stayed on the roll, and all the dialogue said and all. You see you walking the line, the one that rests between truth and lie. You see you walking the line, and all the paths they lead to the bye-bye. Bye-bye. Lord knows I tried to say the things that I feel inside. Lord knows I tried, but all that's left to see is the bye-bye. 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 Take off all the makeup faces. Time to be alone. Time to take a long drive in the car. Maybe you'll see that shooting star. Maybe remember who you are. You see her walking away, the perfect Hollywood movie ending. There's no way she should stay, in no position that's worth defending. You see her walking the line, the one that rests between truth and lie. You see her walking the line, all the paths they